Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to MindShifters Radio with your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeanie. Michael and Jeanie share with you the wisdom of the ancient Aramaic internal process of forgiveness. They offer tools and support 5 days a week. They will support you in building a solid foundation within yourself to live in pure love. In Aramaic, Rachma. Michael is the author of So Why Is This Happening to Me Again? For more information on Michael and Jeanie, please visit www.whyagain.com. And now your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael and Jeanie Ryce.
To the brightness within you, and the truth that is rooted within me.
Hi, and welcome to MindShifters Radio with Dr. Michael Ryce. Our calling number is 646-200-4169. Press 1. That puts you in queue to talk. We would love to hear your comments and your questions. And we are here at Heartland. Let's see, what day are we on? We're on day 5 of the intensive. Gosh, time goes by fast. We're halfway there. And so we want to welcome Michael Ryce to the show.
And welcome to everybody who's on the show. We're delighted that you're here. We're delighted to be here to support you, to serve you in our learning and teaching the internal process of forgiveness, the ancient Aramaic idea of learning how to hit the delete key on your own internal content. You know, it's interesting how the Greeks have taught us that forgiveness is something to do with letting somebody else off the hook because of what's going on inside of us, which is pretty ludicrous when you really think about it. If I'm in pain or turmoil, that pain or turmoil comes from inside of me. It doesn't come from outside of me. It's not caused by anything outside of me. It may be triggered by something outside of me, but the whole process is internal. So how am I supposed to benefit by letting somebody else off the hook for the pain or turmoil that's inside of me? It just doesn't make any sense. But that's what's been going on in planet Earth for a long, long time. Well, in the ancient Aramaic, the word forgive is a tool, and it's how you remove content from your mind, your body, your emotions. If you have painful content, you don't need to forgive somebody else because that's there. You need to remove your painful content. That's forgiveness work. That's the real thing. And if you go back 2,000 years ago in the ancient Aramaic, that's exactly what was taught. And what we're here to do is to keep learning this process ourselves and to extend and to share that process with others so that we can move into the state of real, true human life. And our definition of human life is hold a newborn child. You know exactly what human life is. And that awesome presence of love is what you and I are designed to function out of. And if we're not functioning out of that, there's a reason. There's content that doesn't belong in us. That content comes to us genetically. It comes to us environmentally. We get it through all kinds of sources. Our culture just fills it with that hostility and fear, and, of course, teaching us all the while to blame somebody else for it. When we recognize that we have to buy into it to make it our own, then we have the opportunity to start to own and change the parts of us that hold what never belonged. One of the projects that we have in doing this radio show is to invite you to be part of the team that changed the world. We're looking to create a space on planet Earth that is safe for actual human life to show up. I mean, actual, awesome presence of love to show up in our world and to function out of that awesome presence of love. If you hold a newborn child, you know exactly what a human life is. That's exactly where you started. If you're not functioning out of that, why aren't you? Because you've bought into something different. And you've been taught, a Greek Trojan horse has been given to us in the false concept of forgiveness. I let you off the hook for what's happening inside of me. And so what we're looking to do is to bring that technology forward into every mind, heart, and being on the planet. And so please tap in, put the tool to work. If you're not familiar with the tool of forgiveness, go to our website, www.whyagain.com. On the right-hand side, you'll see a link that says Download Worksheets. That's soon going to change. We'll have our new site up, which will be whyagain.org, and the link will be up toward the top. But the sixth link down right now on the whyagain.com site says Download Worksheets, and under that section, you'll see the first 7 links will give you the whole forgiveness story. It's there. It's free. Please take it. Please use it. 5 of those links walk you all the way through the forgiveness process, step by step. The radio shows where we've had somebody call in, and we've done the whole forgiveness process during the show. And so we invite you to join us in doing that process of forgiveness and to learn to engage in the true process, the true technology of forgiveness, rather than the Greek idea of letting others off the hook because that hostility, fear, grief, rage, pain, sadness, whatever it is in you. If we can get enough people who will actually do this, and this is one of our projects, is to put an end to war on planet Earth, to create a space that's safe for human life to show up. And in order for that to happen, we have to get enough people who understand that their pain, their turmoil, is about themselves. It's not about somebody else. And then how to remove that pain and that turmoil so that the whole attack game can just disappear from the planet. So we're looking to build brain cells in people to support them in living as humans. And we kind of have this little measuring stick for behavior, and that is if you hold a newborn child and you can imagine the newborn doing the behavior that you're contemplating doing, then probably it's cool. Go for it. But if you can't imagine that newborn doing it, then it probably doesn't belong in your repertoire of behaviors. And forgiveness is how you remove it from your repertoire. So, Jeanie, do we have any callers? Do we have anything, any questions? Anything happening in the chat room? No? Okay. Well, then, is Dr. Tim with us? Is David with us? Okay. Well, our call-in number is 646-200-4169. If you were sitting with me and having a conversation about forgiveness, what would your question be? What would you want to know about refining your understanding of forgiveness? Again, the tool being the tool with which you go inside yourself and remove what never belonged. And so we invite you to call into the show, and as you do, ask the question, what do you want to know about the forgiveness process? And we'd be delighted to hear your sweet voice. We're here at Heartland. We're doing a 9-day Why Is This Happening to Me Again intensive. It's the only one we've got scheduled at this point. We'll likely do one out west. Our tour this year is going to take us up into Canada and then out west, and so we'll possibly and likely do something in that direction in the way of an intensive. So if you're interested, it's a little late to get into this one. If you've already done a 9-day Why Is This Happening to Me Again intensive, you would be able to participate in the final intensive we've got for this summer, which is a 9-day teacher training, and that starts on the evening of the 31st. So if you're ready to move your depth of understanding and forgiveness to a new level, and or you're ready to teach this work, we'd love to have you come and join us for teacher training. In the meantime, where we're heading with this whole forgiveness process is to provide the understanding of how you go inside yourself and remove what never belonged. When we live in a state of denial, I've actually considered suggesting to government they create a 51st state because that's where most people live, is in that state of denial. And what happens is our mind's function is subverted, and it starts to take things that are inside of us and make pictures that make it look like what we need to deal with is outside of us, like it's somebody else's fault. And so the technology of forgiveness shows you how to bypass that whole operation and to open the parts of your mind that do need to be healed, to open the parts of your mind that hold some form of hostility or fear that absolutely never belonged within your structure. And to do that process takes an understanding of how the technology works. It was taught 2,000 years ago in the Aramaic language. Many people say, well, gee, what's Aramaic? Well, it's interesting. The Aramaic language is the root language of at least 6 of the world's major religions. And it is not a religious language. It's a physics language. It's a psychological language. It's a genetic language. And when you recognize that and you start to apply the tools that were offered, they were actual, rather than just a belief system about believing something or somebody and it'll all be taken care of, there were a set of tools for how to achieve a different method of functioning in your world and to actually recapture, to come into direct experience of yourself as that awesome presence of love that you are. That has never changed. You have always been that awesome presence of love. If you've lost awareness of it because you've been flooded with the world's hostilities and fears, then it's time to get to work. It's time to go inside yourself, delete, remove what never belonged. And as you do, everything will begin to change. And we're here to support you in that change. We're here to support ourselves and to learn that process ourselves on deeper and deeper and deeper levels. And I promise you that as you engage in that process, the only thing that you'll find inside of you is what's inside of you. You won't find anything that belongs to anybody else, although the world, gives us the pretense game that it is all about somebody else. It's all about you. It's all about what's contained in your mind, in your emotions, in your body. And the delete key is called forgiveness. So we're here to support you in learning to use the delete key. Jeanie, do you have something going on in the chat room to share with us?
We just have people that have never been on their site before. That's just okay.
Okay, so Jeanie's just telling me some new folks are in the chat room. Welcome. Glad you're here. If you have a question for us, our call-in number is 646-200-4169. We would be delighted to hear your sweet voice and answer any questions and fill in with refinements on how this process of forgiveness works. Many people will ask the question over and over and over again, well, how do I do this? How do I do that? How do I do that? How do I do that? Well, the first order of business is you need to get to the point where you experience yourself as a human being. Hold a newborn child, and you know what you're made of, this awesome presence of love. If you lose contact with that which you are made of, then it seems like a difficult experience to achieve. The key to experiencing the direct, actual experience of your human life is letting go of what never belonged in you in the first place. If you come out of a culture, if you come out of a family system that has rage and fear and grief and pain, those things cover up our true essence, and we lose contact with who we really are as these awesome creatures created out of the stuff called love. In the ancient teachings, when they said the first law was love, they weren't telling you, and of course it was interpreted as love your neighbor, but they weren't saying anything about anything to do with something involving your neighbor. All they were saying was the first order of business is you maintain love. You maintain your human life when you think of someone else. First order of business. That's when your genius, that's when your capability, that's when your wisdom shows up. But the world teaches us rather to live in hostility and fear of others, and the cost of doing that is our actual human lives. So the restoration to a true human life is the first order of business of this body of work that comes under the title of Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And, of course, you're listening to MindShifters Radio, and the idea is to support you in literally shifting your mind from the hostility and fear-based mindset that the world has probably given you into a love-based mindset. That's what it means to love your neighbor. It hasn't got to do with your neighbor. So the first order of business is to maintain a human life, and then if you have the capability to experience some form of hostility or fear, to begin to remove that hostility or fear, to forgive, rather than to let others off the hook because that hostility or fear is there. And so that's what we're here to support you in. And if you have a question for us, we'd love to hear your voice. 646-200-4169. Is this conversation making sense to you? If it's not, how about we chat about it? How about telling us what your thoughts are and how we can help you to refine your understanding of the whole process that we're talking about? So the first order of business invariably becomes maintaining a human life, maintaining the truth of who you are. Because who you are is the presence of love. Loving your neighbor isn't about action toward your neighbor. It's about maintaining the presence of your humanness in the vicinity of your neighbor. And by the way, in the Aramaic language, interestingly enough, the word neighbor means anybody that you think about. So you move into a space where you achieve experiencing a life totally, completely free of hostility or fear. And having an instrument, your body-mind unit, that is set for the experience of love, you've removed what doesn't belong in the system. You've forgiven every form of hostility or fear. Forgiveness is not about, I'm going to forgive you, I'm going to forgive myself. It's the tool that I apply to that in me, which is less than love, that needs to be removed. So we're here to support you in learning the forgiveness process. And, of course, we're here deepening our understanding of the forgiveness process. And I think Jeannie's got a question for us.
Someone in the chat room was just made a statement, and she actually said that she had called you. I'm not sure if this is her. We have a caller on the line. I'm going to turn it on, and we'll see if it's her. Area code 616. Not sure. You're on the air. Who do we have? Caller on the line.
Hey, this is Marcella.
Yeah.
Hello, Marcella. How are you, young lady?
Oh, man, I've been better, buddy.
Well, I understand that one, but you're about to get better.
Oh, I need to get better.
What's happening? How can we support you?
Well, I worked with Rex Montague Bauer for a long time back in Michigan, and
right.
he used to come to my spa in Holland and did Y workshops and MindShifter workshops and worked with me for several years. And about 3 months ago, I had a emotional break, and I basically ran away from home. And I can't believe I'm saying this on national radio. Anyway.
So you're safe. You're safe and you're supported. Sounds like a lot of grief.
It is. It's a lot of grief, and I'm working through it. I'm in a safe place. I'm living in my cousin's house in California right now, and I really want to figure out where I'm supposed to be going right now, what I'm supposed to be doing. And I believe that God has a plan for my life, but I just don't know what it is.
Well, a couple of things that I'd like to say to support you. One, am I gathering that there was some issue of abuse in your home? Is that what was happening?
Well, I don't know if you'd call it abuse. Definitely. I had a lot of abuse in my childhood, and my girlfriend said that, they would look at my relationship with my husband and they'd say, he's really abusive to you. Can you see this? And I finally got really just fed up with it. I felt like he was never going to forgive me and things would never get better, and it just came to a head. And I think that maybe I created the situation, how you say, I'm sure, because Rex teaches this, that we co-create everything. And yes. I created a situation where I didn't feel, I couldn't breathe, and I felt trapped. And I recreated a situation myself. 24 years ago, I did basically the same thing, and I ran away. And when we get in that sympathetic nervous system, we fight, fly, or freeze. And I have frozen.
So we're going to add another option, and the other option is forgive. And when you notice that the pattern is perfectly repeated, what you're telling me is that you carry that pattern within you, and you create circumstances that bring that pattern forward. And what I would suggest doing is putting the pen to the paper and starting to forgive. This pattern obviously is fresh in your mind right now, so I'll be jumping on the forgiveness, the reality management worksheet, and starting to forgive this pattern so that this feeling of being trapped is something that you can break inside yourself. Otherwise, you will gather circumstances that will justify your hallucination of being trapped. And if there are no circumstances to justify it, but the stress is up, then your mind will simply fabricate and hallucinate a reason to feel trapped.
Exactly. And that I know that that's what I'm doing, and I'm trying to do worksheets, but before when I do the worksheets, Michael, I didn't see the problems in myself, and now I see them in myself. I mean, I can read you this last one I did, and I don't think I did it right. One, do you want me to read you your part and my part, or just my part?
Yeah, just do just go through the steps and what your answers are.
Okay, one, I have, through denial, trained my carbon-based memory to show me the lie that feelings and my giving up the experiences of my essence love are caused by my triggers, who are what seems to remove me from experiencing myself as love. A, panic, me.
So you're doing a worksheet on panic?
Yeah.
Okay.
What is your perception? Fear is too great to overcome. How can I support myself when I'm so frozen in panic? Let's see. I'm breathing. There you go. I'm breathing. My mind tells me that I cause me to feel inconsistent. And D, the thoughts I use to cause this feeling is I need money to support myself, but I don't want to stay in California. I really, Michael, I want to come live there with you guys for a while and heal all this shit. That's what I really want to do. And I'm putting that out there.
And we do have work support programs for doing that sort of thing.
Yeah, I sent you a letter yesterday with my first 2 worksheets. I understand I need to send in 2 weeks worth of them before you'll consider me. Is that correct?
Well, there's always room for conversation.
Okay. Anyway, I drew my feelings, and I feel like I'm an ice cube, and I'm stuck inside the ice cube.
Breathe.
So, E, I
sounds like a lot of grief and loss.
There is so much grief and loss, and I know it's my fault.
Well, I'm gonna offer you a different thought here. As opposed to it being your fault, would you be willing to entertain that it's your responsibility?
Yes.
The minute you go into fault, you just open up a whole other series of files that make it difficult to see the part you play in whatever it is that you've created.
Okay.
So, and I can shift to, okay, I realize, having created this before, there's some part of me that's participating in it, although my mind is showing me that it's about him, right?
Yeah. Well, yes and no. I mean, it's been 3 months. I can see it's my shit. I created this 24 years ago, and totally different people were involved,
Yep.
So I know this is all about me. And I am responsible, I need to heal this.
So the key here in the forgiveness process is as you move into responsibility as opposed to fault or blame or guilt, that you want to recapture the part of your mind with which you create this. And as you recapture the part of the mind that you create this with, in the presence of love, you get to dissolve that part of your mind. You get to get rid of or let loose of, that is, forgive that pattern. And that's the whole idea of the process.
Okay. I get to forgive that part of the mind that keeps recreating this. I think that's what you just said, right?
That's what you apply forgiveness to, that part of the mind. Yes. So I might suggest that you maybe do some worksheets around the relationship itself where this shows up, the relationship that this is currently shown up in, and the relationship that you said 24 years ago where it showed up. Obviously, the common link in the two is yourself. And so the forgiveness process I would apply, and you might do the worksheet on the relationship with such and such, so it might be with his name from the current relationship, his name from the previous relationship, two different worksheets, and start to look at how your mind sets it up that in relationship you create feeling trapped.
How I create feeling trapped.
Yes. Feeling is something that comes from inside. And, to be even more accurate, trapped isn't really a feeling, it's a thought. And the feeling is, how do I feel when I think I'm trapped? And the feeling would be, it sounds like grief and loss.
Yeah. Well, I create grief and loss because I run, but I created other problems by staying,
Right.
Okay. Well, thank you, Michael.
So that would be the starting point. And the other thing that I would offer is that if you go to the website under Download Worksheets, you'll find a worksheet that's pretty self-explanatory called Purpose, Personal Power, and Commitment.
Say that again.
Purpose? Under the section for the worksheet for Purpose, Personal Power, and Commitment, there's a DVD that we have called Purpose, Personal Power, and Commitment. And there's a worksheet in that, and it's under the Download Worksheet section, and it's the Purpose worksheet. It's pretty self-explanatory, and if you want to, dig it out and call into the show if you need some support with it, aside from ordering the DVD, so you've got the whole workshop, you're welcome to call into the show. But it gives you an exercise with which to really clearly tap into what your real purpose is. And as you do that, and you start to make choices that are on purpose, and you'll tend to align in a way that personal power will show up, that supports you in producing and creating that purpose, that way of expressing in the world that you came to express through. So the worksheet, basically our culture says this, you're just a silly piece of protoplasm, you're an accident in the creation, in the universe. Pardon me, there isn't even acknowledgement that there's a creation there. You're an accident in the universe, no different than the protoplasm a cow is made of, and so you don't have a purpose. Just go get a job, make money, serve us, do what we tell you to do. When the truth is, when you tap into who you are as a human being, you have a very specific purpose. But you've been brainwashed out of being in touch with that purpose. And so that worksheet is about undoing the brainwash and coming back into harmony with what your real true purpose is. And then as you make decisions and choices that align with that purpose, that's how you accumulate or you express real true personal power.
Okay. I will look into that. And I'll continue to send you guys 2 worksheets a day, and hopefully we could talk about the possibility of me coming down there for a work study thing or a work thing.
Awesome. Well, I haven't looked at my email recently, but I will take a look for it, and I'll look forward to being back in touch with you.
Oh, do you want me to email them? I was sending them snail mail.
Okay, snail mail or email's fine.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll get off the phone now so I can listen to the rest of the program. Thank you for being there, Michael. I really appreciate it. And please say hi to Rex and Mitzi for me, okay?
Okay, we hold you in a blessing.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. 646-200-4169 is our calling number. you have a question for us on the forgiveness process, on any of the worksheets. Actually, if you look in that section in the on the website under down worksheets, there are dozens of different worksheets that we do. And if you have questions on any of them, we're delighted to have you call in and to answer those questions for you. So if you'd like to give us a call at 646-200-4169. We'd love to hear your voice. If you're already on the phone, if you press 1, that will put you in queue. Jeanie will know that you have a question for us, and she'll put you in queue, and your question will, to the best of our ability, get answered. So 646-200-4169. Okay, so there's a question on the floor about confusion being part of healing. So I guess it's a question in the chat room, is this sweetie? Okay. So the question is, how can confusion be part of healing? Well, let's use an example from the world of physics. We all know scientifically, for instance, that there's no such thing as color. What we know is what our eye sees and interprets as blue is simply a particular wave shape. What our eye interprets as red or green are each different wave shapes. The reason why they call some people colorblind is because their brains interpret those frequencies or those wave shapes differently. So imagine I've got a whiteboard in front of me and I've got a red light, a blue light, and a green light shining up on the board. We have clarity of each of those frequencies and we see red, blue, and green. And if I take all 3 spots and shine them on one dot, will we have clarity on red, blue, or green? No. Those energies are frequencies which are kind of additive and subtractive with each other, and you'll get a confused picture of those 3 different frequencies, the red, the blue, and the green. There won't be clarity on any one of them. Well, the human mind works in precisely the same way. When you bring information in through your senses, you bring in frequencies, and those frequencies are stored in the form of electrical impressions in brain cells. And when something resonates those frequencies, those brain cells fire and you have clarity on whatever that issue is. However, if, let's say, for instance, your clarity is how relationships are destructive and never supportive, if you're clear on that, and you decide, well, if I think about this awesome human life that I have, my newborn child, this awesome presence of love, it doesn't make sense that relationships are so crazy and destructive. So maybe that's not true. I think I'll start to question that belief in my mind. Maybe, as some of the ancients said, relationships are sacraments. And by the way, sacraments are not religious things. Sacraments are simply those things that were given to us to take us back to our original true nature, our original being. So if I hold a belief, I literally hold an electrical energy in brain cells that when it fires, I have clarity on that belief. But if my clarity is that relationships are painful and traumatic, and information comes in that says relationships are nurturing and sacramental, then obviously when those 2 energies meet, they're going to clash, and the result is going to be confusion. So in the healing process, one of the reasons why real healing is not very popular is because it's not Dr. Feelgood. On a physical level, in terms of healing, when you start to go back through those old locked-in energies, on a physical level, you're going to get to experience old symptoms, and as a result of that, there's going to be low energy because it takes a great deal of energy to move through those kinds of issues. On a mental level, healing looks like any kind of negative thought you've ever had, confusion. So as the old negative thoughts start to surface and you get safe enough to look at them truly, honestly, accurately, as a young lady just did as our caller, gee, this happened to me 24 years ago, it's happening again today, there's a part of me that's involved here. So when I bring that part of me up, I'm going to tend to get stuck in that old negative thinking. But part of the worksheet process is that as you're doing this, you are actively shining the presence of love into your mind. And so you'll start to peel out all those old energies. So on a mental level, you're going to get to look at whatever's stored in your structure in the way of old negative feelings and confusion, because the conflicting new information that's coming in is literally an energy that mixes with the old untrue beliefs. And so there's a process to go through in the forgiveness work of processing out that old junky stuff so that the truth can actually take hold and take root. And then there's a third level upon which that happens, and that's the emotional level. And healing on an emotional level looks like any kind of negative feeling that you've ever had and depression. So it's working through those things that brings the healing process full circle. And on the way through the healing process, any of those things can come up: physical, mental, emotional. And confusion is clearly part of the healing process. So, Jeanie, does that make sense? And lead to any other thoughts or questions?
There's actually another person in the chat room, and they said that they mentioned the other day in the chat room that they had recently released a friendship, and it was actually their best friend, and that it had been a very painful experience. And they wanted to let us know that they had written her a note and said that they forgave this friend and that they hoped the friend forgave her. So you might want to touch on that a little bit. I put on there that that's letting each other off the hook, and that is really not true forgiveness. And we do have a caller after you address that one.
Awesome. So here's my input on forgiving your friend. Never forgive a friend. Never forgive an enemy. Never forgive another person. Never forgive yourself. That's a mistake. You can't do it. It's not possible. We've been taught a fraud about forgiveness. We've been taught, I have pain inside of me, I'll let you off the hook. You know, our previous caller shared that 24 years ago. She created exactly the same circumstance in her life, in a relationship, and did exactly the same behavior, ran away. She started her call out with, you know, I ran away. I felt trapped. Same thing as 24 years ago. So 24 years ago, as she left, somebody probably counseled her, well, you know, he was terrible. It was all his fault. Just forgive him. So she could say the words and go through the belief of, okay, I'm going to forgive you. I'm going to let you off the hook because I feel trapped and unsafe. But by letting him off the hook, she's done absolutely nothing to change the part of her mind that creates feeling trapped and unsafe. So here she is 24 years later. What comes up in her mind? Precisely the same circumstance. Trapped, not feeling safe. So she could engage in what the world would call forgiveness, let him off the hook, or she could engage in it's all my fault, so I'll let myself off the hook, and that will do nothing to change the reality and the content of the mind of being trapped and feeling unsafe. So here's the difference. While if your partner or your friend did something that's really, let's say, despicable, and that's why you left that relationship, you may choose to pardon them. Okay, I let you off the hook for that despicable thing that you did. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the next step and enter into my forgiveness work. My forgiveness work is going to look like, and you know when you did that despicable thing, what that brought up for me, let's use the example of the young lady who just called, what that brought up for me is this feeling of being trapped and unsafe. So now I'm going to apply the technology of forgiveness to my feeling trapped and unsafe to remove that from my structure so that I'm finished with creating trapped and unsafe. Anyone who never learns the Aramaic idea of forgiveness is guaranteed to live out the title of my main workshop and the title of my book. Why is this happening to me again? Because if you never go inside yourself, if you never have the technology to bypass your denial system and crack open your own dissociated state of mind and heal what's underneath it, then you will create that circumstance over and over and over again. That's the essence of the why is this happening to me again work, is what I refuse to forgive, that is remove from inside myself what I'm afraid of and it's painful, is what will define me. It's what will create the next experience in my life. Now, some people say, well, why would life punish me like that? Why doesn't life just forget about it? It's because I refuse to forget about it. I refuse to remove it, and I am a creator. And as a creator, if I allow my creative energy to flow through this trapped and unsafe part of my mind, I will literally, I did some work about 30 years ago with a fellow named Marcel Vogel. He was a 23-year senior scientist from IBM. Marcel had an instrument in his laboratory with which to literally take a picture of the high energy waves that leave the mind when we think a thought. So if I do the Greeks' form of forgiveness, 24 years ago, here's this person, it's their fault, I'm feeling trapped and I'm not safe, so I'm going to leave and I'm going to forgive them. I'm going to repeatedly create through the filters of leaving and feeling trapped, feeling unsafe. So while I might let them off the hook for the bizarre part they played in it, I want to go inside myself and do the actual forgiveness work. If I call letting them off the hook forgiveness, then I'll never do the forgiveness work because I'll think I've finished it. Oh, well, I forgave them. It's done. I forgave myself. So the difference is, what I'd invite you to do is to look at what came up for you in that relationship. What kind of pain was there in you that made you go to the extreme of dumping your best friend? And here's my offering. It's very possible that your best friend did absolutely nothing whatsoever to deserve that, except to trigger the dissociated part of you that holds the painful reality that you're blaming them for. And as you dissolve that painful reality, you may find yourself in real true humility going back to that person and saying, you know, in that interaction we had last week where I just said, enough, I'm throwing you out of my life, I realize that I totally, completely created that inside myself and that it wasn't you at all, and I apologize. But what I'd like to do is make amends and clean that up with you. I really value your friendship. You are my best friend, and I want to maintain you as my best friend. So that might be one side of one approach to it. Another might be that their behavior brought up some pain in me. I'm going to forgive my pain, and then I might go back to them and talk to them about their bizarre behavior. You know, that behavior, you're my best friend, and I'm going to honor you enough to have an ongoing conversation with you to clean this up. What you did, my reality about it is it was pretty bizarre. It was off the mark. It wasn't appropriate. So would you be willing to entertain and look at that and work with me to work through this so that the friendship that I value so much I can maintain? We as non-humans, and when I talk about non-humans, I'm talking about wherever active love is not present, we are genetically predisposed to leave. That's everybody's solution. I'm out of here. I suggest that you take the leaving issue off the table. I'm here for you and with you. Yep, there's some crazy stuff coming up in me. Whoa, looks like there's some crazy stuff coming up in you. Are we committed enough as friends to keep communication open and walk through this? You might check on the website on www.whyagain.com, soon to become .org, and you'll see a relationship commitment. That commitment is about living in a different way than what the world teaches, where people become disposable, rather living in a way where you realize that you have relationships with people and that what comes up in you is yours. It's not about them. Now, does that mean you never leave a relationship? Hey, if you got somebody that's, doing dangerous, crazy behavior that's off the wall, of course you have the right to do that. But what we suggest you do is you engage in the process of forgiveness around having someone doing dangerous, crazy behavior in your life, because while you're not responsible for their dangerous, crazy behavior, you're responsible for the fact that they're doing it in your face. And when you clean up that part in you, you forgive that part in you, then you'll tend to create different outcomes in your relationships. And so that would be my input. And Jeanie, is there any feedback on that? That room?
I just said something like to repeat. You said something that they would like for you to repeat. I don't think that I got it. Wherever active love is not present, we leave. Is that what you said?
Yeah, basically what we've been trained to do in this culture is to give up our human lives and blame somebody else for it. We are genetically predisposed to leave. How do I know that you are genetically predisposed to leave? Because everybody in your bloodline that's over 120 is already dead. Dying is a way of leaving. People die because they don't want to deal with their lives anymore. It's not required. And so when you forgive the leaving issue, all of a sudden, when somebody does something bizarre and off the wall that you say is my best friend, they remain your best friend, and now you have an issue to work through, this bizarre off-the-wall behavior. And usually relationships come together through what I call matching bags of garbage. That is, if he has the anger, she'll have the fear. If she has the anger, he'll have the fear. And they will be attracted to each other through resonance, and each will have the opportunity to work through their respective issues as a result of the conflict that comes from those parts of their own minds that they refuse to deal with. So when you step into relationship, it's an eternal relationship with another being as opposed to a relationship with a disposable body, and the whole game changes when you start to live that way. So to forgive, literally, to get to the point where you are ready to forgive your desire to leave, you're ready to let go of, I've got to escape, to start to entertain that I live in a world that's here to nurture and support me, and if it's showing me something painful in myself, then I need to learn to forgive my pain rather than blame them for it and escape. And once again, if there's danger in the situation and it's appropriate to leave, make sure that you keep working on the part of you that attracts danger in, elsewise you'll just have to do it again. As our first caller shared, 24 years ago, this circumstance happened. Here I am 24 years later. Why am I in this boat 24 years later? Because I didn't go in and forgive the parts of me that resonate or pull somebody in to play this out with. And so if you choose to step away from a relationship because it's not safe to be there, then what I suggest that you do is you continue to do your work around that issue so that you don't have to create it with somebody else again. Jeanie, you got another caller?
Yep.
Awesome. Area code 954, you are on the air. Welcome to the show. Who are we talking to? You're obviously calling from the Fort Lauderdale area.
Hi, this is Patricia in Fort Lauderdale. How are you?
Hey, young lady, I am blessed and highly favored. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you for asking. I have a couple of things. I don't know how much time I'll have, but I have the group's going well, and I want to be able to best help a couple of individuals, so I'm asking for input. I have one person who has been able to come out once to the group and did comment that they found the worksheet very valuable and was able to realize some things that were going on in their life that they needed to get in touch with. But because of lifestyle, just having a hectic life, hasn't been able to make it out again, but we've kept in touch over the phone. Now, this individual shared with me that there's some serious health issues, and they have not been able to sleep, which, of course, is affecting the immunity system and the health issue. So my thought is, I'm just wondering, in my mind, the thing that popped out is maybe the best tool for this individual would be a breath session. Although the worksheet is valuable, I just don't know that I would be able to consistently work with this person with the worksheet, and I want to provide a more immediate avenue. And so I just wanted to know, in your opinion, do you think that that's something that I can offer to this person?
Certainly a breath session, just so people have some background on what we're talking about here. Patricia's a support group leader down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And your group meets on?
We meet on Thursdays from 7 to 9 at the Urban Namaste Studio.
So Thursday, so there'll be a support group tonight at the Urban
Correct.
Namaste, tonight, Urban Namaste Studio. Fabulous. So anybody that wants to join us at 7 o'clock, is that correct?
Correct.
Cool. All right. And so a couple of things. You might want to invite this person to look at whether or not they're using busyness as a drug to avoid doing their work.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's one of the more common drugs on the planet is, well, I'm too busy to do this. Well, excuse me, but if you've got that serious a challenge going on in your world, you need to unbusy yourself. And you might find whoever it is, two things that might be useful is one would be there's a meditation CD on the website called Wellness to Stillness. If it's insomnia that's happening, the insomniacs tell me they never hear the end of me. They go to sleep. The other one is the Getting the Stress You Need video, or maybe you could integrate that into some of the support group sessions and invite that person to come and to look at how they create stresses that keep their minds so busy that sleep isn't possible because the mind is always running. And as you start to cancel the goals to keep the mind running, the tendency is for the mind to shut down and get quiet and give them an opportunity to sleep.
Okay.
And yes, might it be appropriate to breathe them? Go for it.
Right. Well, that's what I offered, since the person is very big. And I mean, they're legitimate, school, work, different things that I would keep in touch with them and let them know, because we've been working here in Fort Lauderdale, those of us who've been on an intensive, to coordinate a session for us to breathe together as graduates of the intensive, and to invite a couple of people in possibly who may be able to benefit from that. And I just don't want to say, well, if you can't come out every week, go to the website, I can't help you. I just really feel, my heart feels impressed to offer some other avenues for this individual. And of course, I don't want to breach confidentiality and say too much on the radio, but what you offered is definitely helpful. Thank you.
Good.
And then I have someone else coming for the first time, and I've only met the person over the phone, but it's been shared with me that this person is really in crisis. And so I know sometimes when an individual is in crisis, the worksheet could appear mundane. It's kind of like, help me right now. I don't want to sit down and do this. It's too complicated. I just want a quick fix. So I'm anticipating that, and a good thing may be that it might just be me and this person and one other person, so a small group is ideal. But I just wanted to ask you if you can offer anything to me that could help me work specifically with this person, so I can create a comfort level and a sense of safety, so that I can at least hold their attention for a short time at the very least, and see if I could offer some tools to this person.
Yeah. Well, my first thought would be careful about getting into the quick fix business.
Right.
If you get into the quick fix business, then it's going to be you that fixed them, and then if it breaks again, it's going to be your fault. I'd make it really clear that, whoever it
there
is,
isn't a quick fix.
you've created the circumstances in your life.
Right.
It's taken you a long time to get to the point where you've created these circumstances. And if you want to undo them, you're the one who's going to have to undo them. I can offer you the tools and support, but you're the one who has to do the work. And if you're not willing to hang around long enough to build the brain cells to understand how to start to do the work, I'm not going to be able to fix it for you.
Right.
So I'd be real clear up front in that regard. This is to give people tools with which to support themselves in their own healing process. And there's got to be enough of a willingness to stick around. There'll be people who will, if you can't fix me that, I'm going out for my fifth of scotch. It's then maybe that's what you need to do, because you're going to have to sit still long enough to build the brain cells. And, there's so many different methods of support. I know that, you're there available for them on the phone. They've got 5 days a week on the radio show. There are videos, there are audios, there's a huge backlog of radio shows from on our website. There are lots of ways for people to support themselves, but they have to be supportable.
Right.
You can burn yourself out trying to support the unsupportable.
Right.
And a person who won't sit there for 5 minutes and learn some tools isn't very supportable.
Well, and I do realize that there is no quick fix, and I understand that. I was just communicating that as a scenario in which, sometimes when people are in crisis, they don't want to hear, going through a worksheet step by step in detail is sometimes too much for someone who's in crisis, although I'm still going to offer the worksheet as I normally do at our weekly meetings. I'm thinking that perhaps I may simplify things a bit for this person just so I could be supportive and help this person to get out of their belief system. Because I'm sure when this person shows up, that from just having a phone conversation, they're very much stuck in their belief system.
Right.
So, but thank you.
It's not going to be a 5-minute fix.
Yeah. Well, even that statement you just shared with me, which I wrote down as a reminder for myself of how I could help from the very initial conversations, just stating that up front to let them know, this isn't going to be Dr. Feelgood or a quick fix, but if you have the willingness, I can share the tools with you to help you get there.
That's
Excellent.
it. That's
Thank
the key.
you.
Awesome. And on another note, real quick, we're down to just about 15 seconds.
Okay.
Are you heading to New York for that interview? Is that falling in place, I hope?
It is. I've been asked to fly up there, so right now I'm just working out the details so I can get myself there. Thank you for asking.
Well, we hold the space and see you in the successful acquisition of that job, and we invite you to bring a stranger to the show tomorrow, folks. We're going to close the show out and wish you the best year yet of your eternal life. Blessings. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to MindShifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeanie, who present the internal Aramaic process of forgiveness. Michael and Jeanie are here every Monday through Friday on Earth Angels Radio. For more on Michael and Jeanie, please visit www.whyagain.com. That's www.whyagain.com.